Hello everyone, welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel for your latest daily rundown ahead of all the action at the 2026 PDC World Championship with me, Matt Hill. This is the last pre-Christmas video because Tuesday will round off the second round. It's been very rapid fire and it's been a tough one for me, to be honest, on a personal level, although I did have some decent results on the afternoon. Now I'm filming this in between the afternoon and evening sessions. Normally I would film this after the evening session has concluded. It'd be a late night filming and late night upload, but wanted to get ahead of things with this one. So I've seen the afternoon games. I've just watched Ricky Evans beat James Wade 3-2 in a cracker, which was a good winner, obviously. But I don't know what's happened on the evening yet, so I can't do a full recap. I've obviously backed Charlie Manby to win 3-0 and backed him -1.5 sets. So I'm hoping Charlie's done a good turn for me. To be honest, the other three games, as I mentioned on the Monday preview, looked quite uncompetitive to me. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a bit of a dull session, but you know, you might be watching this, you've already seen it. It might have been a cracker. Luke Humphries might be out for all I know. I doubt it somehow. But yeah, so I can't do a full recap, unfortunately. It has been a tough second round for me. Things improving slightly today. Hopefully that continued with Manby. And this is the last round of action. There's quite a few better fancy here on Tuesday. I think this is a really good closing day before Christmas. So without any further ado, let's get into it. First game is Jonny Tata versus Ryan Meikle, which probably wouldn't set the pulses racing for many on paper. But I think this is an interesting game as a betting medium. I really do like Jonny Tata. Put him up at 12-5 to beat Richie Edhouse, which he did 3-0. in his opener. Really pleased for him because he's shown on the World Series that he's a class operator, Tata. He's, as I said on that particular video, he's gone well against Littler, Humphries, etc. on the World Series, and like that stage presence, I think was crucial for him. And he was also playing a very out of form, lacking confidence player in Richie Edhouse. Sorry, so like yeah, circumstances certainly in his favour. He still had to go out and do the job, and I thought he did it really, really well. Some very impressive finishing, 4 180s, and just generally looked very at home on the stage. As did Ryan Meikle, to be fair. You've got to give him some credit, didn't you? I backed Jesus Salate to upset Ryan Meikle. He was nowhere near it, Salate. I think he averaged 80 in the end. Very, very slow at the blocks, but Meikle didn't let him settle. He was averaging 105 after 4 legs. He went off a cliff a bit after that, Meikle, to be honest, but the job was kind of done by then, and he got over the line without too much faffing. Salate did break him in leg 1 of the third and missed darting a further 2 legs at double. So that could have got a little bit more interesting than it eventually did, but he did all the hard work early, Ryan Meikle. Fair play to him. This looks like a great opportunity for him on paper. He's been very well backed to take advantage of it, as you can see, sort of 8-15, but 4-7 in most places now to get the win here. Jonny Tata, best priced 13-10. 6-4 is probably the best we're going to get in terms of a sportsbook. I'm not counting AK bets in that. And yeah, I like. I don't just want to follow in with Tata, but I do think he's got a good chance here. It might seem a bit basic just following in again, but like I remain unconvinced by Ryan Meikle. He had 4 very good legs, which any PDC 2-card holder can do. And then after that, that was the Ryan Meikle I expected to face against Salate. So I don't have much faith in him coming out and averaging 100 in set 1 again, to be honest. Like all credit to him for doing that. But I think Tata will stick with him a bit better. And Tata's scoring looked really, really decent. He looked very comfortable on the stage, very cool persona. So I don't think he'll be fazed by it. He might even be the type to step on again, having got that first performance under his belt here. So very tempted to just back Tata, but I think actually the safer play is just to back him on the 180s. As I said, 4 in 3 sets for Jonny Tata. Now, there was 3 from Ryan Meikle as well, but I would say that he scored better than usual, would be my take there. Whereas I think Jonny Tata was probably just scoring at about his base level. So I actually do think that Jonny Tata will win this 180 line. He's a favourite to do so just, but he is on the drift. And I think the 11-10 that's widely available looks the best way of playing this game. Wouldn't put anybody off backing Tata to win if they share my thoughts on him as a player. And you could do the win and 180s double, couldn't you, if you're feeling more ambitious. But for official staking purposes, we'll go with Jonny Tata most 180s at 11-10 in the opener. Daryl Gurney versus Callan Rydz is the next match. Very interesting contest again. I'm saying that a lot, but they are. They're just close contests, as the market shows you. This is virtually an each of 2. Money has come for Rydz to nudge him into favourite. Gurney, best price 21-20 at the time of recording. And yeah, I'd probably lean with Rydz. I don't have a really, really strong opinion on this game in terms of who wins it, other than I think it'd be a good contest. Rydz did a job on Patrick Kovacs in round 1. It wasn't vintage by any stretch. I mean, Kovacs actually played quite well. And that's someone who was on the Rydz 3-0 and watching it, and I was, unpleasantly surprised by how well Patrick Kovacs played, but Rydz still got the job done, and that should settle him into things. His recent record at Ali Pali is phenomenal. 2 quarterfinals in the last 4 years, which far outweighs his sort of seasonal performance, so he always does come alive here. While Daryl Gurney comes here having somehow got past Paul Greaves, he just edged through it deserves a lot of credit, Daryl, because he wasn't playing well, wasn't scoring well, and yet he found a way to win. There was a massive check out in that last set that just swung the game in his favour, and then he still had to see it out, which he did. Greaves outscored him, but Gurney just, I think, experience told, and at the right moments he did the right things, and I think we see it time and again when players play Bo Greaves at the minute, that they are sort of really laser focused because they know that there's a big test coming their way. And yeah, he was probably, there's a saying that the best player always wins. I don't know if they did there, but the grittiest player certainly won. So fair play to him for that. In terms of this particular game, the angle that I like is on the Bet365 Bet Builder tool. Actually, you can combine over 3.5 sets in this game for Gurney with Rydz to win the most 180s and get even money right now, which I think is a fantastic way of playing it, because if we actually look at this market in a bit more detail, Rydz is 2's on favourite to win the 180s, best price, more like 4-9, 2-5 across the board. He is the better scorer of the two. Gurney, like I say, I think he only managed 1 or 2 180s in a marathon match with Greaves, whereas Rydz was in the red bit regularly against Kovacs. And when you associate Callan Rydz playing well, it is always followed by 180s. So I think he's rock solid there. But just to bolster it up, I don't see this going 3-0 either way. I think two players are too savvy, and I'm not sure either of them are playing well enough to actually win this 3-0. Like, I think they'll get on the board, but I think they'll both give chances up as well. So, displayed by the fact that over 4.5 sets is only 7-4. There's a very, very decent chance that one goes all the way. So over 3.5 sets and Rydz to win the most 180s, as I say, pays even money with the Bet365 Bet Builder. I think that's a rock solid bet. Game 3 is Jermaine Wattimena versus Scott Williams. This is, on a personal note, is my biggest bet of the day on Scott Williams. Took him at 2-1. He's into 7-4 now. He did come in even a little bit more, but whether he'll come in much more than that, I'm not sure, to be honest, because I think Wattimena, for all the data-driven people, will be someone that they want to be with because he's shown the standard consistently, whereas Williams hasn't. And I think in data, they'll tend to lean that way, who's been hitting their metrics for a longer period of time. It is Wattimena. But very contrasting round one games. Jermaine struggled, was put under pressure, and had to sort of battle to come through it. He was really on the ropes, whereas Williams was just emphatic against Paulo Nebrida, like as good as I've seen him play in a long time. I think we can conclusively say that the World Championship stage seems to bring the best out of Scott Williams. I think he's determined to put this stuff to bed about dartitis as well, which he has, and there was no signs of it in that win. He was enjoying himself. The no-look 180s were out, the flashy finishes. Nebrida didn't play badly, and he got absolutely walloped. So I was so taken with Williams' performance, and I have confidence in him to back it up. Like, he's got such immense self-belief. Some would call it cockiness, brashness, but he just knows how good he can be. And he seems to have supreme confidence on the World Championship stage. You put that together, I just don't see how he's going to underperform here. Whereas Jermaine Wattimena, question marks to answer, I would say, after that performance. He has been a class act this year. He really has. He's had a breakthrough year, won his first PDC title, followed it up with another one. He's had plenty of major runs, looks increasingly comfortable on the stage, but he's still never had a deep run at the PDC World Championship. And this is a high-pressure game for him. Comes in favourite. It's a very different mindset to what he's used to, I think, on this stage. I think, and generally over the years, Jermaine has been a player that has kind of won the games you expect him to, and then he's not managed to take that next step. So the market expects him to win that here. Maybe he will. I think at the prices, based on what we saw of both of them, and Scott Williams' record at Ali Pali, you've got to be wanting to be with Williams at 7-4. Like I say, I took 2-1. I would still have the same bet at 7-4. I think he should be going off more like 6-4 here, Scott Williams. And he may yet do. I mean, Boyle Sports will got him 6-4. If that money continues to come, that's exactly where he's going to go off, and that's right. But I think, if you take 7-4, you're on at the right price, and you've got a man who it will be up for the challenge and seems to save his best starts for these kind of occasions. Okay, last game of an interesting afternoon is Peter Wright versus Arno Merk. Another one where I'm going to have a straight bet on the outsider. Arno Merk, I've backed him at 11-5. He's south of 2-1 now. I still think he's a bet. Peter Wright struggled badly against Nolan van Leuven. He just, by his own admission as well, he just hit the right shot at the right times. It was a 3-0 win. It could easily have been a 3-2 kind of game. Van Leuven had the worst legs of the match in the last legs of each set. And Wright jumped over it, to be fair, but his scoring was way off. It was much more like the Peter Wright that we've seen this year, rather than the Peter Wright that we occasionally see at the big tournaments when he just decides to roll the clock back. He vowed he was going to be much better next time out. I just don't share enough confidence to be. I think anyone backing him at 2-5 here, you're braver than me. Whereas Merk opened up the tournament against Kim Huybrechts and acquitted himself really, really well, got better as the game went on. Obviously, we backed him on YouTube for a good winner, and yeah, I think he really enjoyed that. And I've seen interviews with Arno Merk, and he's already talking about, like, before the tournament, he was talking about getting to round 3, round 4, like really in a confident place mentally. This is a guy that walked away from the sport for a long time, having not fulfilled the potential expected of him as a youngster, came back and is now like looking like he's got an exciting few years ahead of him, to be honest. Like, doesn't have a tour card. I presume he's going to rock up to a European Q School in January. Will probably win one the way he's been looking at the German Super League and against Kim Huybrechtsen. I think this is like a dream tie for him, really. Peter Wright, out of form, former world champion. He could just go up there, play his game, see what happens. I definitely want to be with Merk. So at the prices, 39 to 20 is the best we're going to get with BetMGM. So we'll have a 2-point win bet on Arno Merk. On to the evening then. It's a tasty little evening session, this. Danny Noppert versus Justin Hood. There's no bet for me in this game, but that's probably a mark of respect to Justin Hood and how well he played against Nick Kenny, because I wanted to get with like pro Noppert angles in this tournament. I just think that I'm on record saying it. There's not many people playing better than Danny Noppert at the minute. Maybe just Littler, Humphreys and Van Veen. I think he's been that good in the last 3 to 6 months, Danny Noppert. Obviously backed him for his quarter. I've got a few shillings on him outright. Yeah, so I really do think very highly of Danny Noppert. I mean, he beat Jurjen van der Velde in his opener 3-1. Van der Velde asked a lot of questions of him, and Noppert had the answers, and I think he showed why he's managed to kick on to the next level. To me, it'll be per fair if he goes to like the sort of last 16 quarterfinals of this tournament and isn't in the Premier League, and it will just show that the Premier League is effectively a popularity contest, because he is in the best 8 darts players in the world right now, Danny Noppert. So, you know, all power to Justin Hood that I'm not putting up Noppert on a handicap or anything here, because he was class against Nick Kenny. Really, just everything. I liked everything about him, from his demeanour, his scoring, his finishing, just like his mentality. Treated for it, given it was his debut, treated it so well and spoke so well afterwards. You know, like, asked about Danny Noppert and the excitement of playing Danny Noppert. He's like, Danny Noppert's got to play me. And I think he referenced that he's got a good record against Danny and stuff. So, yeah, he's looking forward to it. And I do think Noppert will have too much for him, but he can hit 180s, Hood, and he's shown himself to be cool under pressure. This will be the biggest examination he's ever had in his career in terms of holding up under pressure. It's one thing playing Nick Kenny in an afternoon session in round 1. It's another thing playing Danny Noppert on an evening in round 2. So I think he's going to be asked some serious questions. I think Noppert gets through, but I wouldn't like to be betting on the scoreline or the handicaps, because I think Justin Hood is a very, very good player. And I'm hoping he'll really kick on with his career, because clearly we haven't seen the best of him just yet. Next game on the evening, it's a tasty tie, isn't it? Gary Anderson versus Connor Scutt, 2 of my favourites. And both had to work to varying degrees to get through their first round ties. And Connor Scutt had an absolute humdinger with Simon Whitlock, where he probably should have won it earlier. Whitlock came back at him. Some massive finishes from both at key times. 180s piling in on both sides. It's just a really entertaining 5-set round 1 match. And glad Connor came through it, because obviously I feel like Simon's had his career and had his peaks, and Connor's still to reach his. And he set up this interesting tie with Anderson, where like the market's with Anderson, but I'm not at all surprised to see the money coming for Scutt. I don't think there's as much between them as 4 to 11 versus 21 to 10 suggests, particularly when you consider some of the disappointing performances Gary's put in on the World Championship stage in recent years, when seemingly poised to have a good run. And that's one of the reasons I've attacked the fourth quarter, because Gary is like, you know, one of my favourite players, but the last 3 or 4 years he's come into the Worlds with a lot of talk around him, and he's delivered some stinking performances to get himself knocked out, sometimes after having looked good earlier on. So, like, it's just a really hard man to trust, Gary Anderson. Like, he's a worthy favourite, but I think Scutt is an interesting outsider. The way I would play it, maybe rather than backing Connor to actually win it, is just on the sets handicap. Plus 1.5 sets is 10 to 11 best price. Even 5 to 6 is probably fine for me, to be honest. But, you know, shop around, try and get as big as you can, like 17 to 20 at Ladbrokes is a little bit, and Coral is a little bit bigger, and the 10 to 11s with 10 bets. So, I'm just going to back Connor Scutt plus 1.5 sets to get a couple of sets to make it interesting. Wouldn't be all that surprised if he wins, but yeah, I'm just expecting a good close contest here, and I think Scutt has been undervalued by the market. 2 games left to discuss then. MVG versus Willie O'Connor. This is a really, really interesting one from a betting perspective, because money has piled in for Willie O'Connor, who delivered the best performance of round 1 when absolutely walloping Christoph Chuk. And then MVG, who's had to dodge bullets against Tatsunami, the Japanese qualifier, who took the first set off him and should have took at least one more set off him. So, you know, traditionally this market would be more like 3s on MVG, 2 to 7 MVG. as it is, he's going to go off 8-15 to beat Willie O'Connor, which is bonkers, really, isn't it? When you think about it in the grand scheme of things. There's a lot of people that I've spoke to that say, oh, because I've put MVG up outright. Obviously, a lot of people saying, like, oh, I'm worried for him against Willie. And I get it. I do get it. Like, on the numbers and the eye test, yes. But this is Willie O'Connor. And, he's never been to the quarterfinals of the World Championship, has he? And Michael van Gerwen is a 3-time winner, multiple finalists, multiple major winner. And I just think that these two, if these two were playing on the floor right now, I think these prices would be right. I think playing on that stage, Van Gerwen 8-15 is too big. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for what O'Connor's doing at the moment. I think I've backed him for multiple Players Championship events this year, and multiple times on the European Tour without success. But this is a World Championship stage. Is he going to be able to bring the same level that he did against Christoph Kachuk, against Michael van Gerwen on the final night before Christmas? Absolutely raucous atmosphere. It's the main game, and the third game. It's how the PDC seems to do it now. Put the big game on number 3 before the crowd starts to filter out. So it's going to be a rampant atmosphere, and I'm intrigued to see if O'Connor can match that standard. If he does, MVG is going to have a tough night. But I'm expecting Michael to put at least 5-6 points on his average here, and I think the 8-15 is value, to be honest. The way I'm actually going to play this game is I'm probably, I've not got for YouTube purposes, this is a no bet. The way I'm probably going to play this game, if the market keeps going in this direction, is maybe getting like split stakes on the MVG 3-0 and 3-1, because I just feel like there's maybe a little bit too much emphasis being put on round 1 performances, and maybe people just need to take a step back and consider the situation here. Michael van Gerwen versus Willie O'Connor at the World Championship. Is that an 8-15 versus a sort of 6-4 game? Don't know. Not for me. No bet officially on YouTube, but I might get involved at last minute. Josh Rock versus Joe Comito. It's a bit of a non-event on paper to finish round 2, but we've said that already, haven't we? And particularly about Joe Comito, who knocked out Nico Springer. But to be honest, Nico Springer, it was all about Nico Springer losing it rather than Joe Comito winning it. And that's not to take anything away from the Aussie, but Springer collapsed. When the pressure was on, Springer collapsed, and it was a lack of B game and just sheer panic that caused him to lose that game. Comito was steady, nothing more, and Springer couldn't even find steady. So I have not seen enough from Joe Comito to think he's going to beat Josh Rock. I mean, Gemma Hayter took a set off Josh Rock in the opener. She played well in that set, to be fair, deserved it. Josh Rock still won it in first gear in the end 3-1. Said by his own admission he might have underestimated Gemma Hayter. Maybe that gives him a kick up the backside that he maybe needs. I'm not going to try and force a bet here, to be honest. I think Josh Rock wins this 3-0. He should do. He's, 4's on in most places to win it 3-0. But Joe Comito has shown himself to be a steady hand. If you do have a dip, he can maybe take advantage. Would I want to be backing Comito to win a set? Not with any confidence. So I'm just going to call this a no-bet game, expecting Josh Rock to win it 3-0. And if Comito wins a set, it won't be the biggest shock in the world, but I won't be having any money on it. Okay, so just to recap then, the way I'm going to play these games here is Jonny Tata most 180s against Ryan Meikle, which is 11-10 at time of recording. I'm going to do a bet builder on Rydz Gurney of over 3.5 sets and Rydz to win the 180 line at even money. That's a 2-point win bet. I'm going to have a 4-point win bet on Scott Williams to beat Jermaine Wattimena, just because I think the price is the most attractive of any of the match bets I've seen in round 2. And I do really trust Williams to deliver at the World Championship and at least make it very, very close. 2 points on Arno Merk to beat Peter Wright at just shy of 2-1. No betting Danny Noppert, Justin Hood, MVG, Willie O'Connor, or Josh Rock versus Joe Comito. But Gary Anderson versus Connor Scutt. I'm going to back Connor Scutt on the handicaps plus 1.5 to double your money. So that concludes my thoughts on the final pre-Christmas session at the World Championship. Let me know what you're backing in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed the videos up until now. I will be back to preview the action starting on Saturday the 27th of December when we'll be into the last 32. If you haven't already, really appreciate it if you give the video a thumb up, and please do hit subscribe. We've added over 100 and something subscribers during this tournament. I'd love to get to the magic 1,000 before the final, but that might be a tad ambitious. But thanks for watching. I'll be back again soon and wishing everybody a very Merry Christmas.